Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 10 teams with buffed Pokemon for the Open Great League. This is going to be a little bit different this time around as we don't know all the stats yet, so this cannot be final yet. Of course, this is only going to be final as soon as, most likely at least, the new season is going to start. Most likely they're going to push it immediately then when the new season is starting, so until then we don't have all the direct stats there, but we can of course predict them, and all the predictions are already in today's video for both the Pokemon you battle against as well as for the Pokemon we use. But what I have to say as well is that I cannot change the standard moveset of Pokemon. For example, here, this is a list the Pokemon made themselves now, just a short list with prediction for the upcoming season, for the prediction for example, Aerial Ace, it's 40 energy in this case, as you can see here by Aerial Ace on Gligar at rank 4, needing 5 fast moves of Wing Attack to get there without any residual energy there, so it's basically 40 there. We have Dig predicted to be a 50 energy move now, which is also kind of interesting. I think they have 50 here, maybe it's even 55 that they put in there. I think it's actually 55 for them, but I put 50 in because it does make more sense in my opinion. So yeah, those things are not final yet, but of course it's going to be a little bit interesting. What we see already for this short meta review here right now is that we're going to see the top 3 Pokemon staying the same, while below it, it's kinda havoc. Honestly, there's a lot of changes. Gligar at 4, we're going to see some other Pokemon moving up a little bit. We're going to have for example, the Steelix on 16, which is an interesting Pokemon, which a lot of people are looking forward to. We're going to have some other Pokemon like Hitmontop being a little bit higher up here as well, which is going to be nice. So there's going to be a little bit of change, and there are also going to be a lot of hidden Pokemon that are buffed this season, which didn't get a direct buff. So we're most likely going to take a look at this tomorrow, so subscribe if you don't want to miss out on this one, but we're going to move right into team number 1. New faces, old system. We're going to have a team that's kind of familiar to a lot of people from the last season especially, but also in general. The concept of having a fighting type Pokemon and a steel type Pokemon in the back is nothing new, but this time something is a little bit new, and this is going to be the say swap of Gligar here, especially the Shadow Gligar with the Dig as well as Aerial Ace buff. Going to be a very strong Pokemon to see here, especially here. Shadow variant looks so overpowered, honestly, super strong. Maybe Dig is actually 55 then, because Pokemon is already looking so good, but honestly, going to be an interesting one here for this one here right now. Gligar going to be an insanely good save up in this current meta, especially as you're even going to be able to hit something like Swampert. You see here already, you're going to win against the enormous Swampert with a Gligar, which is interesting just because you're going to have a very neutral matchup in general, but you do a ton of damage with the Wing Attack as well as Aerial Ace, while Mudshot doesn't do any damage against you. So that's going to be very nice as well. Otherwise, Medicham lead always going to be the better one compared to the every other fighter, basically, sadly. But it's going to be fine. It's still going to be fairly decent to use the Poliwrath if you have that one. But yeah, Medicham does not go anywhere. Registeel is very decent in the back there, especially for matchups like the Pelipper, which you're going to see here pretty high up as well. So for this reason, you might not want to run Steelix with this team, but they're going to be other teams where you can definitely run Steelix. For example, the next one. The next one going to be basically a team that I played last season with Carbink in the lead, but now you can also use the Steelix in the lead here with the new move Breaking Swipe. But this team was super overpowered that a ton of people actually tagged me, I think 3, 4, or 5 people actually tagged me that they hit Legend with this team, which is kind of wild. With Carbink in the lead though, you can use Bastion in the lead, you can use Carbink in the lead, you can use Registeel in the lead, and you can also use now Steelix in the lead for this team. So we're going to have here as a say swap the Medicham, which is going to bait out potential flying type Pokemon, which still going to be available, while not as common in general compared to the last one where we're going to have Noctowl everywhere. Now we're going to see most likely Mandibuzz everywhere. And that's going to be a little bit different though, of course, with Mandibuzz compared to Noctowl, but even if people run Noctowl right now, it's going to make the matchup for the Medicham even a little bit better as a say swap. But in general, trying to get out potential flying type Pokemon which are still available, especially now as you're going to still have Ice Punch available, which is going to be better against Gligar. This Pokemon going to be very nice and definitely going to have some kind of impact for the upcoming season. There's still, of course, Medicham still going to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest Pokemon ever. But then we're going to have in the back the Trevenant, which is definitely a Pokemon that gained a lot of potential this season, as basically, yeah, Noctowl is mostly gone, and this Pokemon hates Noctowl, and a lot of other Pokemon you're going to beat with this one. It's definitely going to be the best Grass-type Pokemon in this current meta, and we can move on to team number 3, which is going to have another very OG core here by the Diggersby and Cresselia core, as we're going to use Diggersby with the new move Scorching Sands as a Say Swap for this team with Quick Attack. This is going to allow you to basically hit nearly everything. There's nothing that really wants to swap into you, which you cannot really hit. Of course, there's going to be offensive counters against it, for example, the Medicham, but therefore you have the lead and you kind of want to get this one out for the Registeel in the back. You can actually use Registeel as a Say Swap for this team as well again, and use the Diggersby with this moveset in the back as a closer. Really depends on how the meta going to shift, to be fair. But this looks very, very decent. This team in general looks amazing, honestly. Should work out super, super well. Swampert in the back can work out well as well, but here right now, definitely a solid team for sure. Let's take a look at the next team coming up. We're going to have team number 4. This is like one of the ones that are a little bit iffy. I tried to make a team around the the Hitmontop, which is a little bit tricky in general, because again, if you don't have a fighter that's named Medicham in there already, it's going to be always a little bit tricky. This is kind of inspired by a team that a lot of people used last season with basically Lickitung in the lead, going to be able to still have a neutral matchup against Medicham, and then using the Say Swap of either the Surfetch'd or their own Medicham, and then now we're going to have here, for example, the Hitmontop with the move Triple Axle in the back, which is definitely also a solid pick, but like it's going to be a little bit tricky, of course, with all the Medicham. I actually expect that Medicham going to be a little bit buffed this season compared to last one, which is kind of sad to see, but like, yeah, we're going to have Steelix, for example, where you kind of want to have it. We're going to have a lot of other Pokemon where you kind of want to have it, so I actually don't think that even Medicham really got nerfed. But yeah, let's take a look at the next team coming up here. Right now, I want to try to make a team around Mudshot Greedent, as well as you can have here a little bit of a different playstyle. You see, a lot of teams of mine are kind of ABB style, so you have a direct Say Swap, which you're always going to swap into if you face a neutral or like a bad lead for you. But this team functions a little bit different. Of course, if you're going to encounter a fighter in the lead, you kind of want to swap out with your Pokemon into like the Deoxys defense here, the Medicham, depending on what you really take. But if not, you can actually try to play out the Greedent matchup. And Greedent with especially some energy is really decent in the current meta. It doesn't look as great here on paper right now, but it's actually going to be very, very decent in the upcoming meta. Even going to be able, in some scenarios, to beat the Registeel as well as the Galarian Stunfisk, thanks to Mudshot doing more damage, as well as you have the Crunch, which can get the debuff onto the opponents. So this Squirrel actually going to be able to be very decent in the upcoming meta. And now you're going to have in the back there either the Gligar instead of the Azumarill, which is going to give you a better matchup against Registeel for the backline, or you're going to run Azumarill, which is very decent in this new meta as well, for sure. But yeah, Say Swap, easy, Deoxys defense going to be very decent as well. But yeah, usually you kind of want to try out to stay in the lead, try to play it out, try to win the lead. This would be the most ideal scenario. And then just try to hard counter the opponent with an RPS backline of Medicham and Azumarill, for example. It's very decent, or Deoxys and Azumarill. Very, very decent core in general in the back there. Even if you're going to lose your lead here, you don't really have to swap out unless it's a fighting type for the lead. Let's take a look at the team number 6, updated Swampert. We're going to have Swampert now with a little bit less damage, but we're going to have also some other Pokemon in here that got some buffs. I'm using Sableye as a Say Swap here. This is going to be still the best Say Swap for this one. Afterwards, Drapion, if you have Drapion. Drapion is definitely the second best one, if not even, I kind of pair it with the Sableye for sure, I feel like. But Skunking, of course, has now Trailblaze. But with Registeel around, I don't actually think it's going to be the best one for this meta. I'm feeling it's a better one for the Ultra League meta. But yeah, you could use it theoretically if you want to have a triple buffed / nerfed team here. But we're going to have here also the Mandibuzz in the back. Again, I kind of made actually a mistake here by the Mandibuzz and gave it the wrong moveset, because I wouldn't actually recommend you to run Foul Play on this Pokemon anymore, as Aerial Ace got buffed. I would recommend you to go for Dark Pulse on this Pokemon, but even without it here, you see already, it's going to be a very strong team, definitely works out fairly well. This is basically the new Swampert, Sableye, and Skarmory team, which was very decent for like long ago and whatever, but also like still last season I played myself and was really nice. But of course now, as Skarmory got completely nerfed to a point where you cannot use it at all anymore, we're going to have to use some different flying type Pokemon. You can still use Noctowl here, but of course Noctowl going to be way worse than last season as well, which is, I guess, a good thing because I can't stand this Pokemon at all, so definitely good that this Pokemon going to be a little bit weaker. Next team, also an adaptation of a team that I already played on my channel, which is going to be the Trevenant Registeel as well as the Heliolisk. Going to be a little bit weak against something like a Charizard maybe, could be the case. But you can also use here the Carbink with Tackle as a Safe Swap if you wanted to. But in general, you're going to have a lead that's going to be amazing against the Medicham. You're going to be able to Safe Swap the Registeel to get out the Medicham. And then you're going to have something in the back that kind of wants to sweep when the Medicham is gone. And you're going to have two options here of the Heliolisk as well as the Magnezone here. The thing is, for me, I played this team before with the Raichu, the normal Kanto Raichu, and this team worked out super well for me with Skullbash as well as Wild Charge. So I'm fairly certain that this team should work out as well, if not even better nowadays, with some better new electric type Pokemon. Both Heliolisk as well as the Magnezone are viable for this team, but I feel like the Heliolisk is a little bit better than Magnezone in this particular team. They're going to be a different one where it's a little bit different most likely, but here right now, going to be a little bit better also against something like Charizard, for example, the Heliolisk in the back. Going to be an interesting Pokemon in general. Curious on how good this is actually going to be, but we can move on to the next team here right now, which is going to be Swallowed. These team here going to be very interesting. We're going to have the newly buffed Swallowed with the Mudshot now in the lead here. Safe Swap, you can actually, like, I kind of wanted to use the Greninja, not gonna lie, but yeah, like Sableye is still going to be a little bit better. You can actually use also the Gangshot variant of Obstacle as a Safe Swap and have the Scrafty in the back, but you kind of want to have something that can beat the Medicham. And as Swallowed is not the best Medicham answer, I decided to go for the Sableye as a Safe Swap here, which is going to be a little bit better against this Pokemon. Yes, Registeel apparently beats everything here, but you know already, the Obstacle as well as the Sableye matchup is not as bad for the Registeel, or like against the Registeel, especially in the 2-shield scenario, so it's not really that bad. But you can also use different kind of leads here. I feel like that Beedrill might be even a little bit of a better lead here with the buffed Exeter. Definitely a Pokemon I kind of want to take a look at, especially with Drill Run. Going to be an interesting Pokemon to see, but let's take a look at team number 9 right now, which is going to be a team with Magnezone again, and also of course Heliolisk. Both are kind of similar, both are weak to ground type Pokemon and both are weak to fighting type Pokemon, so you can kind of use them in a similar sense here. So both also mainly do damage with their fast move Volt Switch. As we're going to have here now the matchup with a Volt Switch, Wild Charge and a Mirror Shot going to be in the Shadow variant, which is going to be a little bit better. And we're going to see here a very interesting backline of Sableye again. Sableye, very good Pokemon in the new meta. I feel like it's kind of buffed again. As well as Cresselia, which is also going to be very decent. And the cool thing here about this team is, of course, that also Magnezone going to be able to beat Carbink very hard with the Mirror Shot, which is going to be double super effective, as well as you're going to be able to resist everything from the Carbink. And even if you're going to lose your lead, you're still going to have, for the Carbink, the Cresselia in the back, which is going to be nice. There's going to be one weakness here, which is definitely glaring, which is going to be the Registeel. And for the people that are worried about this matchup, if you encounter Registeel with a Magnezone in the lead, go for the 2-shield scenario, go straight Shadow Wild Charge. There's no way that the opponent going to win this matchup then. In the 2-shield scenario, you can go straight Wild Charge and win straight with the Magnezone against the Registeel, so there's nothing to bother with it. Then you're going to have the Sableye matchup, which is also going to be very neutral against Registeel. Cresselia is a little bit tricky, but even if you're worried about this one, you can still use your Medicham in the back, or even use the little Gligar in the back, which also would work out well. So this definitely works out super well. This team is one of the teams which I'm like really curious on how good it's actually going to be, because it looks so nice on paper. I'm fairly certain this team should work out super well. But let's move on into the final team of today's video. If you enjoyed this concept or if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more content for the upcoming season. But we're going to have here now underrated Breaker, and what I mean with this is actually Dusclops. The thing with Dusclops is it doesn't look as crazy here right now, but this is also because it's not the updated meta list on the left side. The thing is, you're going to have Ice Punch as well as buff Poltergeist on this Pokemon. There is a Pokemon that a lot of people are going to play right now, which is going to be the Gligar, which definitely does not like the Ice Punch, as well as Poltergeist going to be very decent against something like the Medicham. So I'm fairly certain that Dusclops actually has a little bit of more play right now. It's not going to be insanely strong where it's like, oh my god, it's going to break everything. But I'm fairly certain this Pokemon actually has a little bit more play than a lot of people think right now, so it's going to be interesting. And yeah, this is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Check out the videos on the screen right now. Both the top 10 buffs and top 10 nerfs of the season going to be on the screen. And tomorrow, I'm also going to take a look at the top 10 hidden buffs for the season. So definitely check this video out then as well, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.